And I'm building this system called Workshop, which is designed to be an automatic context ingestion. So you basically define a sources for your project and pulls it in and figures out what's going on. And then it creates a PRD and sends it through Elves. And I spent almost a week on this branch. And I recently kind of made this eureka discovery with co-work. And I just tossed that whole branch. Like it was like a week of evenings and weekends and like lots of thinking, and I just threw the whole thing away. And I didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, well, this isn't good anymore. And you gotta you can't have any sort of connection. And it's weird just not having like no connection with code anymore in that way. I think that's a stretch for a lot of people, and rightfully so, after it's how long it's been the way it's been. I think that's a big transition for a lot of folks.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Matt. I prepared a little opening speech, and my throat is sore, so I'm trying not to make it too long. And then over to Laurie. Is that okay? Everybody cool with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. My opening speech. It's my soapbox. So I've spent, this is going to be a little bit of humble brag. I spent a lot of years and made pretty decent living teaching TDD, test-driven development. And I even organized the first international test-driven development conference. I was really passionate about it. Now, as you know, a lot of people just vehemently push against TDD. And everywhere I go, people are really up in the arms and they just don't like TDD. And so what is the main pushback? What is the main reason they're pushing back? Even if they say, look, this is brilliant, we love it, but right now we can't do it because we don't have, it's taking too much time. And we don't have the time. So my counter argument is that I would not ever recommend TDD if it wasn't saving time. So in reality, TDD is not causing you to spend more time. It is actually helping you spend less time. So it's actually, and so everybody's mystified, like, well, what do you mean by that? That doesn't make any sense. But I learned from, I don't know if you guys know G-Paw Hill.
Oh, yeah.
G-Paw. So I
worked with him.
Yeah, G-Paw is brilliant. He actually gave a keynote at that TDD conference, the opening talk. And he's a brilliant guy. So he told me that there is something he calls GAC, which is short for Geek at Keyboard. And it is indeed true. So if you observe how regular untrained software developers work, they go in, they make some changes to the code. Then they save. Then they try and compile, locate, compile. Then they manually run. Then they go and log in manually. Then they navigate to some part of the app where they think the change was made. Then they manually type some test data, see if it behaves the way they expect it to behave. If it behaves the way they expect to behave, they log out, log in with different credentials, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. If something breaks, they go into debugging. And that's how the day goes. And nobody has any problem with that waste. That's phenomenally wasteful. But if you're doing TDD, you will never, ever be doing that again. So to me, that's a fantastic time saving and effort saving. Because, we're doing TDD, your tests are doing that on your behalf. So why am I saying that? To me, when I look at the anti-sentiment against AI, it feels like software developers at large like to touch everything with their hands. And as soon as you say, well, you don't have to touch it anymore. No, I'm the craftsman. I have to touch it. Everything has to be manual. And this is the most pedestrian, the slowest imaginable way to work. But for some reason, the sentiment is there. It's ingrained. That's how I work. That's why they pay me the big bucks. I am poring over everything. I'm eyeballing everything, and forever and ever. And that is like around the clock. Along come different practices that Woody is recommending, and Tim and Kent, and we're saying, look, you can automate some of these things. But like, no, that's for sissies. Real men, they just go everything, heavy lifting and all that. So to me, it's natural to see people like that saying, oh, I don't want machines to write code. It robs me of my manhood, how am I doing things, right? And that's where I think the problem lies, is that how do we get to the point where we are okay by not having to touch everything by ourselves, not having to eyeball every little detail, because that is ingrained as the rate of passage. Yeah, like if you're a junior and they bring you on board, now you're teaching from the seniors that you have to be touching everything and doing everything manually. And you know, I'm sure you've been through these endless meetings with check and recheck and recheck, and all these spreadsheets where like things are in red and in orange and in green, and all that can be automated. But for some reason, people are upset when we propose to automate that. So we have Nicholas with the hand up.
Yes, just to in addition of what you have said, I think most developer practice like this the test by opening the browser and fulfill the 10 step before see the change. Maybe some developer don't know how do it in TDD, or maybe if you make a demo and you see how many time he saved by doing it in TDD. Maybe it's just a knowledge question, you know.
Yeah, and you're right. And even when I'm teaching, I taught a lot of TDD dojos and hands-on knowledge. You learn that people think, okay, look, I get it, but I don't know how to write the next test. I'm drawing a blank. It's not something that we've been trained in. And I taught courses at the university, and I taught courses to the computer science graduates. Nobody knows how to write tests. Nobody has been taught, and it's not even part of the curriculum. And when I proposed to the administrators that I should launch a TDD course, they go like, "Okay, Alex, can we look at job opening? Who is asking for TDD? Nobody. So why would people are not gonna pay for that course, right?" So the biggest impediment, again, if we go over that hurdle where people feel like they have to touch everything manually, the next thing is, okay, how do I write a test? What I don't even know where to start. I like to teach James Granning. I don't know if you guys know James Granning. He's another fantastic guy. So I collaborate a lot with James. So he taught this zombies approach. I don't know if you guys know about zombies. It's great, and it can help move the needle. And if you expose it to people, then now all of a sudden you have some kind of guiding principles. Okay, 0, 1, many boundaries, etc. Takes a lot of years. It took me a lot of years to get to the point where I can feel I can confidently do TDD. It's not something you can do overnight, but it's like any other real practice. If you want to be a good guitar player, you're not going to learn it in 1 week. It's all in the working. It's all in the actually doing it. And again, the industry, the profession seems to be quite immature. People not even aware why would we write tests, and then no, how do I write the test? And over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Alex. I was just over here writing down some of my thoughts about what I wanted to talk about with just this idea. I feel like TDD is to get people to the point where, in the context of AI, they're ready to accept TDD and what it does. I think you have to get them to the point where they're okay with not reviewing the code. And I feel like that mental hurdle is the hardest part. And then once they get to the point where they're like, okay, I accept that I may not need to review every line like I used to, then I think they're more open to like the benefits of TDD, especially with AI, how easy and it makes that. And I feel like there's 3 main factors that impact people feeling like they have to review code. And it's a combination of frontier models producing quality that most people don't expect right now. I feel like, and no fault to them, but the vast majority of engineers, they don't really have a sense of where the ceiling is with a lot of frontier models. And so frontier models are able to do better code than they think. And I think they also believe that code has to be better than it has to be. So for example, we've all done the exercises where it's like, you got to keep your bundle size as tiny as possible, right? Like you're optimizing, like people are still on DSL connections and they're still moving a couple megs down. And so like every byte matters. But the reality of it is, if your bundle size is 100K versus 150K in the modern web, that's not going to really make much difference. The truth of the matter is, kind of to the detriment to a lot of the ways we think about code, is code doesn't have to be as meticulously perfect and optimized as it used to be in terms of the user experience people are going to have. You have a lot of leeway with how things are going to be made. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest shocks of our lifetime, is, frontier models can produce code that's good enough for most end users and for most applications. And so I think as soon as we can get people to really get their heads around what's possible with frontier models, they're going to be open to the idea that I don't have to review code anymore. And just very quickly, even in my own profile, I still say, oh, I look over everything AI does. Because when I went AI first a little over a year ago, I thought that was going to be important. Like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to let the AI go crazy. But since then, like, I'm generally aware of things, and I kind of look over them, but not all the time now. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Matt. And again, you're pointing at the well-known Donald, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Knuth, who said premature optimization is the root of all evil. Basically, programmers tend to really spend too much time tweaking and tightening the screws where not necessary. And we all suffer from that. And maybe in AI, we can feel some respite and relief from that. But I'm always very happy to have Woody here, because I think really once we get over that obsession with code and having to eyeball everything and having to touch everything manually, the real bottleneck, I think, and Woody, tell me if you disagree, but I think I learned that from you, is the process, the actual activities, around creating and shipping that code into customers' hands. That's where the real bottlenecks, the next frontier, I think, is going to be happening. They realize, our process, like you say, Woody, not only our process, but our organization is set in ways to make sure we fail. It's just like not supporting us.
Yeah, that's really, really a good point. The organizations are not set up to make things happen in a wonderful way. There's the famous saying attributed to Peter Drucker, where he says, much of what consists of management is making it difficult for people to work. And so although that's not really something he ever said, as far as I can find out, but this is the same with everything. So if we can more rapidly do bad stuff, that's not going to be a help to us. And the things we, in another session I was outside of this one, we were talking a lot about the theory of constraints and how we maybe are looking at the wrong bottlenecks if we're thinking coding is where the bottleneck is. I believe AI is enhancing our ability to steer rapidly. And this is a good thing, that we can quickly do a prototype based on a little exploration and a few diagrams we end up making. A lot of people are really focused on typing out all the instructions and all this stuff. And probably diagrams are going to be a better way to do that communication. But regardless, so we can crank out a prototype and say, oh yeah, we got to change this in our model, or we got to move that around or put this in a different order, and we resubmit that. So I think that the idea that we can, we're not in the sunk cost fallacy, hopefully, with the AI stuff, because we're not so closely married to it. Like we could put in an hour to do something and say, nah, that's not what I want, and say, change this, throw that away, and so on. I don't think I really related too much to what you were saying, but our processes we're going to need new processes about how we do things, but the old ones didn't work anyways. In most organizations, yeah.
You taught us, you introduced mob programming, which is now teaming, and that is a local optimization within the team.
No, it shouldn't be. So when I originally first started talking about this, we discovered working this way, although we didn't invent it. We discovered it when we were all looking at some code together. And so within that day, we decided to do it the next day, and we just kept doing it. The first few weeks, it was just coders and maybe a tester. But we started noticing, because we were doing value stream maps and stuff like that, that the real bottlenecks was not in the coder team, it was outside the team. And so we started bringing everything together. So we want product people, we want the testers, we want the database people, we want the deployment people, we want the users, and the customers are all first-rate, first-class members of the team. And that we think, so some people think, that's why I stopped calling it mob programming, because mob programming was about, people would misunderstand it to mean this is just about creating the code. That's why I called it now software teaming. It's about creating the software. We might want to call it solution teaming or something like that. But because my career is focused on software, and to put a cap on that, when I got into creating software for a living, I realized I was often being put on a team, and then we never acted like a team. It was like, well, let's go play basketball, and then we all go to a different park to play. And I probably have used that example here before, but this is what I was noticing. We're on this team. We meet once a week or once a day or whatever it might be, and then we separate out. This was actually back in 2000 or before 2000. And yeah, we're not really working as a team. And I think that this new ability to work with AI is going to require that we even more closely figure out how to get everybody involved on the team. All the people who are, what we used to think of as stakeholders, they're really part of creating the software. And AI is going to make this so much easier for us to quickly round trip prototypes and steer towards what the finished thing should look like. And prototypes, have never been real prototypes in software, because that's software is the design product process. The code is the design process, like Jack Reeves' article shared years ago. The build process is you click a button. So all the stuff that comes up to the clicking of the button includes all the discussions, all the steering, everything that we're doing that's moving us toward what we think we need to be creating. And that's got to include a much broader. So I used to call this, before I started calling it mob programming, when I first started sharing it, I called it whole team programming. It's not about the coding. To me, it never was. Again, I think I've gone on too long. I'll leave it there.
I know Nicholas is patiently waiting. I just want to quickly add, but sadly, there are anomalies in that, and I'm speaking from my firsthand experience. Most of the time, when I'm facilitating those whole team sessions, and I go, okay, so where is the product owner? Oh, he's busy. He could not do that. Busy with what? Isn't it? Isn't this person?
That's exactly right. So what we found was, if the person who you would consider the product expert, if they noticed they want this software to get done, and they noticed that if they worked closely with it, it got done quickly, that's what would happen for them. They are living in a process, like we just said, that doesn't work anyways, where we've automatically built queuing of a monstrous scale. And I think that one way we need to be thinking about this is we now should be able to have a lot more slack in our systems, where we're available all the time, instead of we're available 10% of our time to the team. And that goes for everybody. So AI should give us the ability to work much more closely as a team, and nobody going, I've got other more important things to do. The team itself should be the product expert.
Absolutely.
It's not a role. It's not a role. It's the capability. The team itself should be good at creating the software we need, at getting it deployed, and good at testing it. And the team itself contains all that capability. It's not different roles that we separate the work out. You hear managers say, oh, we got to separate and conquer. And they complete, it's one of those, I don't think you know what that means, because separate and conquer means you separate the enemy. And that's how so you always are overwhelming them with your smaller force, perhaps. But if you can't, separate, we can't separate our own people. In the military, you wouldn't say, okay, you go attack those 10 people, you go attack those 10 people. No, we want to get our 20 people together and be closer to overwhelming our problems. I don't like to bring the military stuff in. I was never in the military. I don't really know how they do things there, but that's what we have to divide and conquer. Nah, it's not divide and conquer. It's get our people together and conquer. Again,
that's brilliant. No. I just want to explain to others who join later. Woody has only 1 hour, so that's why I want to give him as much mic time as possible. And that's but just one last thing, Woody. Totally agree, but there is one thing called, and then ceremonies trample in, and those ceremonies apparently are way more important than actually doing the work.
Absolutely. So let's reflect on that for just a moment. Ceremonies were around long before Agile was. The way we do meetings, the way we gather, the order in which we do things. I think, what you come to call waterfall. I'm putting everything in air quotes. That was a highly ceremonial thing with these handoff points where somebody would say, my work is complete and correct, and now I can hand it off to you. And then you can accept it as being complete and correct and act on that without ever having to come back and ask me any questions. But, in workshops, I've asked coders, people who are writing software, directly, I would ask them, well, when you get handed a requirements document, what do you do with it? And almost everybody at some point will say, well, I arranged to have some meetings so I can get some of this stuff explained to me because I don't understand it so well. Well, how many of us can write requirements in a manner that is easily understood, even with all the diagrams, all the model references and all these things in UML and everything else? Something is always lost in translation. The context is lost when we hand off between phases in an old-fashioned waterfall. At the beginning, we think we know what we want. It's like they talk about the telephone game. By the time it gets translated into something people can use, it's not recognizable. And how many developers, some of you have written software, would say something like, why didn't you just describe it that way in the first place? Well, you can't describe it that way in the first place. It's naturally a round-tripping process that requires we be really good at steering as opposed to really good at going to the one place we thought we needed to go. And I'll end it with the quote from Douglas Adams from one of it, maybe it's from Dirk Gently or one of his books, where he says, maybe I didn't get to where I wanted to go, but I got to where I needed to be. And this is more of it. My well-quoted quote is, it's in the doing of the work that we discover the work that we must do. We don't even know what we need to do till we start trying to do it. So when we think we can plan it ahead, when we think we can do it ahead. So I've been ranting now and lecturing here for the last 10 minutes, so I should stop doing that.
Oh, no, it's very useful. I would just add to your, even supposing that these documents and communication is non-ambiguous, it's just perfect. We all understand it all. We are still ignoring reality. And we are charging with understanding that we made a couple of months ago when those documents were formulated and laminated. The reality phones in and the boss is saying, don't pick up, let it go to the voicemail. We're ignoring the changes in reality because we have it all hardened.
Yeah, that's the correct and complete aspect of it. And you'll often see it in large organizations, but probably in many small ones as well. The people that wrote those documents in the first place, they're off doing another project now. Getting any time to talk to them can be very difficult. So understanding, again, back to the Slack thing, we need to be available throughout the creation of this software and instantly available. Otherwise, we've automatically introduced queuing, and the queuing will destroy our ability to get through something in an ideal manner, or even something that's close to being ideal. We will spend, I'm going to make a wild guess, 10 times as much time, I'm talking about cycle time, creating the software than we would if we could remove the queuing. The queuing doesn't introduce, half, it doesn't waste half our time. It wastes, 90% plus time. And there's been enough studies and, all the decisions that we make up front are going to be wrong. Yeah. So we need to have the steering. So anyways, again,
And
I said I'll stop 3 times, but maybe I'll never.
and guys, what Woody said, um, Slack built into the system and make us self. What does that mean? That means a lot of people will be sitting on the bench. Upper management have huge problems with that, in my experience. Why are you people sitting on the bench? Because they're making themselves available. No. I want them fully
Yeah.
deployed, doing something. No, it's more
Yeah.
useful when they're not doing anything, just waiting to advise.
Yeah.
That's a forever battle that I cannot win with you.
Well, we can win that, I think, but it's.
I can't.
Well, it would be a rare occasion, but it's kind of like, okay, I've got my basketball team here, and everybody's ready to go in on a moment's notice. But while you're sitting here, why don't you do some of this bookkeeping we need to get done? And how about if you go empty the trash cans, and maybe you go make some lunch for us? Like, you're not going to take your bench and then send them away from the game, because the moment you need them is the moment you need them.
Yeah,
So
you never know what. Nobody knows when that moment is going to come, so they
That's
have
right.
to be available.
And we believe we need to schedule for these things, and we cannot schedule for these things. I've seen people on teams divided up between different groups where they will say, okay, you're 20% with this group, 15% with that group, 30% with it. And when you add it all up together, they're using all their time in the least effective way possible. That means we have to send emails to schedule meetings. We have to, and when we're waiting for a meeting to happen where we have to ask critical questions, the work is in a queue. And of course, the work is always in a queue, and managers, to your point, Alex, are thinking, I want my people to be busy all the time. So they are not waiting for work to get done. Which is more important, to wait, to have people waiting to have work to work on, or having the work wait for people to work on it? These are two very different things, and it's usually misunderstood by those trying to get things done. I hope you can see which is the right one by my thinking, but I'm not necessarily correct.
But from what I understand, you're doing a lot of consulting and you see things on the floor. Do you see any needle moving? Any people think, aha, I get it now? Or is it still uphill battle?
So for a long time, what I noticed about my own work was that I cannot help an organization. I can help an individual. So when I do my workshops and so on, I always have something in there where no matter what level you are in the company, if you were there either for the workshop or one of my introductory talks, you might hear something that 2 years from now will have meaning to you. But what I really tried to work on, and older guys, older people, please forgive me for this, but I was really trying to help the younger people see there are options. So when they replace you, when you retire, or really more hopefully get canned earlier, they bring the new ideas forward. To paraphrase Max Planck, science doesn't change by the old scientists understanding the new ideas. It changes when the old scientists die and the new scientists bring the new ideas forward. So yeah, that's when the old scientists die idea, this is the same in many organizations. And what do I know? I mean, I'm an old guy, but I'm trying to not lose. This is my point. I want the young people that at the time when they become older, they don't forget what was important. Because what often happens in an organization, if you get promoted inside of an organization, it's because you're going along with the baloney that's already going on. You're willing to look to at least to everyone else like you buy into whatever it is they're currently doing. One of these days, I think that would be a good thing to explore. We have these systems that are built to keep us from innovating. So the innovators don't move forward. It's in rare cases that the innovators move forward in organizations. So I don't have any advice or opinion, but I believe that what I found is 2 or 3 years later, I had 2 people who brought me into their companies and they got fired for it. This was back in 2013. And they came back to me and said later, I took these ideas to another organization, and this is what we're doing now. Not that my ideas were correct, but the idea of being innovative and looking for better ways to do things, always saying whatever we're currently doing could be improved. That's more of what I want to sell than you do it my way, because every one of my talks, I start out by saying, I'm just sharing with you what I did. Don't take that as what you should do. This isn't what you should do. This is an example that you can do things and move it forward. And I've spent many years in this, and I finally got to the point in 2009 where I decided I'm only going to work with organizations where there's a chance that they'll accept new ways to do things. I don't always get that opportunity, but that happened for me now, what's that, 15 plus years ago. I wish I could have more influence in that. I don't think I ever could. But just talking about it, inviting open forums and discussion, looking for the people in the organization that are ready to think about new things, and maybe they're seeing some of the same problems as you. You just need to be cautious that you don't make enemies and cause saboteurs to come forward. Okay, we just went way too long. I think we need to let others speak.
Oh, sure. But it's fascinating. I just want to say one advantage of older guys like you and I, Woody, is we can speak our mind. We don't have to toe the party line.
Less fear. That's right.
Less fear. We can call a spade a spade. Do with it what you want. I told you how I see things. You don't like me.
Alex, I've been this way kind of all my life. And I can go back, and the longest I have ever been on a job is about 6 years, but I've owned many of my own businesses. But the shortest, I remember I got a job at a place when I was 19 or 20 years old. And there were two brothers that owned the company. The one of them hired me. He liked the things I was saying. The other brother fired me before lunchtime. So the guy that hired me put me out on the job. The other brother comes up and says, "What the heck are you doing?" And I say, "Well, there's a better way to do this." He says, "You do it my way or you quit." He didn't even really fire me. He told me I quit. So there we go. Yeah, so I've kind of been this way my whole life. But there have been times I needed to make a living, but I've never been afraid of getting tossed out. And I have been tossed out probably, over 5 times, maybe a dozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the older we get, the less we're worried about that.
Sure.
At least for some of us.
Yeah,
But,
I've been like that too. But
yeah.
the reason I would survive is that people found it incredulous that it could be a person like me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is, I must have overheard that this cannot happen.
Sure. And, as I got older, I think in some organizations, they were afraid of kicking me out because of age discrimination. They were afraid maybe they'll get sued. And so, which I've never threatened, I've never suggested, but I have a feeling a few times they were worried about the repercussions of getting rid of somebody. So that's just a U.S. thing. That's a U.S. thing.
In Canada, also people are walking on eggshells.
Yeah. And
when it comes to firing. Okay.
Well, whoever, we could just go on and on. So
I know. Over to you, Nicholas. Thank you for waiting.
It's about a code review. Just to say that for team without the culture of software craftsmanship, the reality is that code review is the last guardrail to validate something, or to the only opportunity to share the collective knowledge. And I see that in the article Light Out Code Base. Now they are unpracticable, so we have an issue for this kind of team. And maybe it's an opportunity to promote software craftsmanship values, and because those teams are constrained to use it. I want to share an article from Sandro Mancuso. It's a brilliant article, and we can see that we have a knowledge loss for this kind of teams. We see that developers can no longer explain their own code. Code bases grow faster than teams can understand them, and the knowledge is transferred and outsourced to the tool. And the solution is to be an advocate of software craftsmanship values. And you can see in the article some things about pull request, that the size of pull request is growing dramatically. Complexity of changes is increasing, and reviewers are overwhelmed. And I think it's what will happen to the team that test manually, and we have only pull request as the only opportunity to validate code and share the collective knowledge. At the end of the article, you can see that why the software craftsmanship is the solution. And even if we remove a code review, thanks to pair programming or something like that, I think we need to mention that we need to work with frequent small well scope commits, intentional design choices. And in the article, it's at the opposite, maybe to the article lights out code bases. He said that we need to keep the mindful reviews, but by keeping the principle of small commits. Yeah. And I think this is the issue for teams without the experience of software craftsmanship, because you work in big batches of commits and the changes, and you need to adopt software craftsmanship principle to work in a way of small commits and to avoid to be overwhelmed by the pull request. So feel free to see the article. It's a brilliant article from Sandro Mox.
Thank you, Nicholas. So you remind me of one thing I just want to quickly add, and I'm going to Matt. There's a saying that there is more than one way to skin a cat. You've probably heard of that. But my experience with a lot of software professionals I've been working with, they insist there's only one way to skin a cat. And a lot of people insist that their way is the best way and any other way is just not acceptable. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on the ways we skin a cat. Meanwhile, people who are paying, people are paying us, all they want to do is us to deliver the cat skinned. They don't care how it was skinned. So there's a lot of waste in these, and to this day we see this obsession about how the reviewing code. Code is a liability and it should be disposable. And again, with TDD you learn that tests are the asset, or in this case prompts or whatever, or UMLs. Incidentally, there's a new school of thought that I keep seeing that they think that we may be again converging to using UMLs feeding to AI agents. So that's another interesting experiment. I haven't had a chance to look. Too bad Grady Booch is not here. He could give us his opinion. But yeah, code obsessing. Matt and I talked this morning about that. There's this fetishizing about the code. I relate to Matt. I was hired on one project to transform the organization. They call it Agile Transformation. I go in, I look at the product, I look at the repo, 370 stale branches. It's hugely bloated. In inventory, some of those branches are 15 years old. They contain some arcane knowledge. Well, and then I'm like, people, you're jeopardizing your organization by having 300 branches kicking around. We should all discard them. Oh, there was a huge outcry, like, don't you dare. But why? Well, one day we may need, do you even know what's in those branches? Everybody forgot, right? So, but this obsession about code being this precious diamond that somebody crafted, and it's now of huge value. It's an unobtainium that some genius would, that needs to go away. And AI may be helping us go over that hump. Matt, you're going to probably talk a little bit about that. How do we see that code is a commodity? It's a dime a dozen. It's not something that you should be shouting from the rooftops. Here's my code. Look at my code. Over to you, Matt.
Hey, Alex, thanks so much. I mean, that's a great question. I had two kind of random pieces of input that I'll just quickly share so we don't get too far off the topic. And I wanted to go back to what Woody was saying, because Woody, I really loved what you said when you said it's about there's so much value in helping folks that are early in their careers to show them the way that we have found over the years, and try to help them see, you're the new scientists now. Science changes when the old scientists die, and I love that. There's no value in the old scientists knowing the new ways, and I take that very seriously. Like, I've been so fortunate over my career to still be able to be doing this, and this is such an important time for folks early in their career. I think they're looking to some of us that have been around for a minute to go, all right, so what do y'all think is going to happen? What do you think I need to do? And so I see that as a very important part of the overall mission. So I appreciate you saying that, Woody. And from a tactical standpoint, in terms of the size of the PRs, so I've been alternating between leading teams and being an IC for like the last 8 years. And when I would lead teams, I was very particular about things like PR sizes. And like, I was a big process guy for a long time. And for example, you know, one of those things was, if you add me as a reviewer for your PR and it has over 1,000 diffs, I'm probably going to send it back and go, this is too much for me to review. I can't give this a good, solid review if I can't really wrap my head around the entirety of it. And when you start getting into multi-thousand diffs, that starts being a problem. I have kind of an interesting situation in that I'm working with some really incredibly talented agentic developers with Fourth Wave, the collective that I'm a part of, but I also am working day to day with founders and small business owners on their commercial projects. And I have found through a lot of trial and error and pain that you have to reject the siren call of doing a lot of work at once. And with AI, that's really hard. You know, I get my founder on a call and we talk through things. And even with my transcript, I'm like, okay, I know what I have to build here. And you spend 3 or 4 hours getting it built and you show it and you realized, okay, we got 70% of it right. 30% of it is not right. That's not exactly what they wanted. And even with being as nimble and agile as we can be, it's painful to roll that back or figuring out how do we reroute it to where it needs to go. So my encouragement for folks like that are getting into these projects is a lot of the old wisdom applies when it comes to, you know, commit small, commit often. Like that was my mantra. And I think it's, you still want to take those, not little steps, but not giant steps, even though AI gives you that capability. You want to build smaller things that are easier to define and easier to verify. And, you know, I still try to keep my PR size like below 2,000 diffs. So the scale has changed. The overton window shifted a little bit. Now instead of, okay, let's aim for 300 diffs, now it's let's not go over 2,500. So I just wanted to kind of share those observations that I've had just out in the field for the last few weeks. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Let me just quickly add before we go to Lori. I think last week, I created a fairly, modest side, nothing special, but modest sized app. And I was using TDD, which means zombies, all super duper kosher, tiny steps, all the micro tests, architecture tests, everything. Then for a lark, for shits and giggles, I went and I just deleted the SRC folder, just track all it, and it just rebuilt it in less than a minute, whole shebang. So all tests passed, all surviving mutants killed. I mean, I don't know, maybe someone thinks I'm naive, but that is very impressive to me. I've had teams on, and especially when I'm facilitating mob sessions or whole team sessions, they always turn into programming sessions anyway, for some reason. And, we are building something and we're doing TDD and all tests pass, and the team is like, yeah, okay, fantastic. And I go, okay, guys, I'm not so fast. Let's run mutation testing. And lo and behold, oh, look, there's all these surviving mutants. Well, that's a big blow to the, hubris, whatever, proud, like, oh, no, we can't have that. And we won't leave this session until we kill all the mutants. Well, believe me, people are sweating. It's not an easy, always walk in the park to kill surviving mutants. But these guys like Codex, and I don't want to anthropomorphize them, but they eat those mutants for breakfast. I don't know what, and I don't know, way better than me, for sure. I mean, that's not saying much, of course, but over to you, Lori.
Oh gosh, sorry, I started eating a muffin.
Oh, sorry. You want?
Alex, the capabilities of Codex, for example, your example, them mutating, the zombies being picked up just like that, you will be absolutely flabbergasted. I mean, an agentic AI tool can wipe your entire code base.
Laurie, something's wrong with your microphone. Can you plug it or something? You had for a moment, it was clear and then started being boomy. Sorry. Because I want to hear what you're saying. That's why I'm pestering you.
Is it working?
It's the muffin.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. You know,
Yeah.
it's a muffin. Yeah. For a musician and an ex-sound engineer, I really stuck with microphones. Anyway, my focus was elsewhere in the past few years. So, Alex, I mean, the capabilities of agentic coding would blow your mind. Have you heard about what happened at Amazon the other day? So they're using agentic coding so much more and relying on AI. It whacked their entire one project. Gone. But do you know what happened then? It rebuilt it in 15 minutes, the whole thing, because it had the context. It's scary and it's paradoxical. These AIs are over-eager and they can make these terrible mistakes, like just RFing the whole thing, and then saying, yeah, but while we were busy doing this task, we didn't look at that thing, and that is now why it's gone. And then they can also say, but it's okay, I will just rebuild it. And it does it in 15 minutes, the entire code base, the same. So there's so much that a lot of people haven't even experienced. And I would like to pose two questions to the guild to perhaps consider talking about, maybe not tonight, but in another session. The reason I'm challenged, this is a challenge to the guild. And please excuse me if it's not allowed, or well, anyway, I'm going to ask it anyway. We focus on coding in these chats almost the whole time, right? That's the main kind of thing that we are focusing. We are software engineers and architects. Yet, AI, the beauty of AI and the power is about more than coding. And the first question is, I would love to have the Roundtable and the Guild perhaps to start exploring other topics in knowledge work. AIs are capable of doing much more than coding. Coding is solved. The patterns are completely, the fluency of the LLM to predict what to code, it's solved. You can build anything. You can put the AIs into a recursive self-improvement loop. But there's other areas that I would like to mention where AI is going to disrupt. And we have seen this also with the market. The legal profession might be about 2 years still. Now, I'm not saying AI is going to take over a law. You need human judgment. But because of its capabilities in producing language, I think there's going to be a big disruption happening soon. Not in a general, my thesis here is knowledge work, medicine, research in general. Are you aware of what has happened with Andrej Karpathy? I don't know if I am pronouncing his name correct, the very famous software engineer. He has built an algorithm that is able to teach the agent to research and improve its researching capabilities. And some people are using this pattern now to go further into research and bring novel mathematical proofs and all of that. So maybe we can start talking about knowledge work in a different section, in a different talk.
Yeah, I agree. However, the reason I chose this slant as a starting point is I don't think I'm qualified to discuss legal or medical. That's not my area of expertise. It is all fascinating, but we need experts to join. But in general, this is a AI roundtable discussion. I originally called it what can we expect from AI in 26. Sorry. My focus is software because that's my passion. Same as with the roundtable, AI crafts people guild. We are crafting something. There's a saying that every business is now software business. It's almost impossible to find a business that does not rely on software one way or another. But definitely, there's if there are verticals that you guys think should be addressed, but we need representatives. I'm not qualified. I don't know if you guys, anyone here is qualified for legal or medical or other research area, mathematics, cosmology, Scientology, Mormonism. I don't know, whatever. That's the thing of what we want to do. But I believe everybody here is pretty much an expert in your domain. So it's good for us to discuss how can we use AI to further this, so that I try to put in a charter that we ethical dimension first and foremost, create equality. Every person is equal. Every person is respected for whoever they are, whatever they're doing, wherever they're coming from. That's what we need to use this technology to enable that, and to chase away bigotism and narrow-mindedness and parochialism. Open the whole world and recognize that we are all brothers and sisters. Work together. Everybody wants to have a nice, pleasant life, and to have that, we don't have to make other people suffer for that or bear consequences. There's enough for everybody.
Yes.
Go ahead, Matt.
Laura, did you have a final thought you wanted to share before I spoke?
Thank you so much, Matt. It's actually just a question, Alex. So I think that maybe perhaps the view of the roundtable it's technical of nature on the internet. It can be expanded to be general. Am I allowed to perhaps invite a friend of mine who have been in CX roles for his whole life, ranging from tech to product to sales to now with legal work and in general knowledge work. Second brains. People are starting to talk more about having these operating systems, for lack of a better term, that access a second brain. People want to start to use that for general knowledge work. But what I would like to propose is that if I can invite my friend Craig, for example, if he has time to join a talk and maybe illuminate the roundtable with some of these ideas surrounding using AI and AGI in the near future with knowledge work to assist in all dimensions in life.
That would be
in society.
mind-blowing.
This might be the key to reach to go to a utopian future, and then life is not a zero-sum game anymore.
Yeah, that would be mind-blowing. Please bring those people on board. Another thing I just want to quickly mention, that's more for the guild, not for the roundtable, but I think we need to find or associate with people who will help us turn this into a non-profit organization, so that we have some legitimacy. And for that, we will need people who know how to do that. And also we need seek some support. I suck at that. I'm pretty bad at bureaucracy and all that, but it would be nice to have an .org. We are, like I said, we're vendor neutral. secular humanism, at least that's my slant. Secular humanism to me means freedom, including freedom of religion, just freedom. And the AI should be the focus: freedom and relief from parochialism and localism and whatever else. But please bring aboard those people. And also, if you're interested, Lori, I know you asked me. I have created a charter document yesterday, just the first draft, completely work in progress. Whoever wants to jump in, I'll send you I'll make you an editor to that. It's a live document, so you can go in and edit and stuff. And that's the place we want to create a charter. And then the next thing I want to do, I spoke with Matt this morning. Once we are all good on charter, we sign it up, we publish it. There's a charter code of conduct. We want to have this to be a serious professional organization, which implies a lot of things that we need to talk about. But then I think when we have these three things, we have the manifesto, we have the charter, we have the code of conduct. Now we look like a real serious grown-up organization, adults doing it, and then I'm hoping we can make some good in this world. Matt, over to you.
I love that, Alex. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't agree more. It's so super important right now. When Laurie mentioned about the legal profession, I felt like I had to weigh in because one of my main clients and one of the hardest projects that I've been working on for the last 5 or 6 months is, and I may have mentioned a couple times, is I'm building an AI chief of staff for a local estate planning attorney that lives here in Port Townsend. And that has been a real challenge, not just from like a requirements gathering standpoint, but from a technical standpoint. So he has a tiny staff, it's a tiny firm, he has like 3 staff members. And Steve is just overwhelmed. He's trying to hit a certain number of clients. He wants to get to 8 estate planning clients a week. And currently he's at like 3 or 4. That's all he can do. So we're building Roo. So the site is called Robot Unicorn. But my point is, AI is absolutely going to make a pretty giant impact on the legal profession from what I can tell right now. Steve says there's no real presence that he can see. Steve spent a number of years as a federal prosecutor working for the FTC, and he's been doing this for a long time. The key that I have found with this automated layer that I'm building is putting everything behind a human gate. So like Roo doesn't take any autonomous actions in terms of outreach. But what it does is it creates all these smart actions that a staff member goes, yeah, Roo, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that. And I think as long as you have those human gates, I think soon, with the agentic infrastructure that's being built after OpenClaw, we're going to see, agents having much finer grained roles and permissions. But my point being, I think the legal profession is probably one of the next industries that's going to see just a massive change as frontier models their accuracy is just going so far up. And so I just think it's going to be very interesting to see the impact that it's going to have, to Laurie's point, in multiple areas of knowledge work, not just development. So it'll be cool to watch.
That's great. Great point. And this is an anecdote. I had a friend visit from Ukraine, and he got injured there. He was in a hospital in Ukraine. They did an X-ray on his injury, and the next day he had to travel back to Canada. But he, because he lost his Canadian health coverage, they need to take X-rays again, but it's going to cost a lot of money because he doesn't have coverage. So now he's holding these X-rays in his hands. Like, okay, I have X-rays. It's like, nope, these are from another country and not good for us. Well, if we had AI to analyze that and diagnose, that would be, in my mind, less of a border protection, something like that, right? So this I'm saying that the opening of the world with this and kind of, okay, let's stop being so cocooned and cloistered. And if we have because we have a Canadian Guild of Professional Medical People and a Ukrainian, and they don't see eye to eye, etc. But to homogenize, to normalize, these professions that now they're up at the level where it's kind of professionally recognized, as everybody signs off. Yes, this product can reliably do radiology and can tell you what's going on. Doesn't matter where you're from, South Africa, Norway. I'm also seeing these kinds of things happen. And on another note, just want to quickly mention, I'm a musician. It's my dream to see if AI can get me to the point where when I cut my tracks and I go back and I ask AI, hey, can you make this sound like the Beatles' Abbey Road production, George Martin? Because manually I can't do it. There's a certain sound, if you listen to some of those classic records, it's just like impossible to replicate manually.
What? Alex, can't you do George Martin style production? I can't believe.
Well, I'm just a pedestrian.
I'm
But
joking.
there are certain of these records that sound so well produced. You just sit down and look, I can't believe they did it. And of course, anything I try sounds lame. But I'm hoping that I don't know if you guys tried that. There will be possibly a product that will whip it into a shape that I can go back and say, "Oh, this sounds exactly like Abbey Road." But that's just my dream. Frank Sinatra singing about choo-choo trains. All right. Anyone, anything else to add?
Matt, we are connected on LinkedIn, right? I want to just drop you a message. You mentioned chief of staff, right?
AI chief of staff. That's right.
Okay, very curious. I'll drop you a message later.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to talk about it.
Okay, doke. Are we good? No, nothing else to discuss.
I feel like everyone's kind of in Friday mode. I don't know about y'all.
Okay.
It's been a crazy week.
And Friday the 13th to boot. The second one in a row. It's crazy. Well, in that case, I'm going to stop the recording and wish you all a great weekend.